Real talk.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Humans Talking podcast. I am Freno, joined here with Brylon. Brylon, what's up, man?
Oh, not much, man. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. My son ripped my shirt earlier. He was trying to climb on me, so I'm like wearing this really worn out shirt now. It's like hanging off my shoulder.
You're like, this is the style. This
Yeah.
is
I'm
the new
honestly, too lazy to go change shirts. I was like, whatever.
Yeah, well, good thing we're not on camera anymore.
Too revealing for the people.
Yeah.
Well, we've got quite a few things going on this week. One thing I was curious about, you had told me earlier that you weren't really a fan of the last God of War game, which I found interesting because I know for you personally, you are very into story-driven games. To me, then, and I felt like the last God of War had a pretty good story, but I don't know, you said you had some issues with the last one because like the new Ragnarok just came out and like everybody's playing that now.
Yes, I am interested in the game, and I did like the 2018 God of War, but it did kind of drag for me near the end. Like it felt very repetitive throughout the playtime. You know, it's like 30 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much just like wandering into battle arenas looking for hack silver and then fighting a bunch of enemies. And there was like, I don't know, it was kind of drawn out for a little bit there. And near the end, I think as I was mentioning the frost giant part, I was just like, all right, I'm ready for this to be over.
You're like, all right, we're done with this.
Yeah, I beat the game, and I didn't realize that there were like multiple other realms to explore like afterwards.
Yeah.
Like I knew, but I didn't really know what was actually there to do. So I was like, by then I was so done with the game. I just stopped playing. I was like, I beat the game. That's really all that's necessary. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go back. Maybe I'm being a little harsh on it, but I actually preferred the other God of Wars more. Like 3 was really great.
Considering the original trilogy, well, I mean, there's like multiple, like it's like 7 God of War games because they put some on PSP and stuff. But the main trilogy that really pretty much brought us to where we are today. I remember I was a teenager playing those games and I loved it. I mean, it's just insane violence, hack and slash. It was very action heavy. And it had a decent story because I particularly like the Greek gods. You know, I love the whole mythos and Zeus and Athena and all that stuff. So that was really my jam. And I thought they did a really good job telling the story of, you know, him going through these gods and whatnot. And, you know, what eventually led to his, downfall in the end. Because, you know, everything, it all ended with war and destruction. Like he pretty much brought about his own end. But I thought it was a great story. I love the action, insane quick time events of just stabbing and killing monsters and gorgons. It was just really over the top for a PS2 game, you know, PS3. Yeah. It was wild. It was a lot of fun to play, and again, very action oriented with a decent story. And here we are now with the 2018 version, where they've kind of, in my opinion, they made it more intimate. It's like, okay, there's still action in it, but it's not like over the top, like cities blowing up and hydras coming out of the water. It's like, all right, there's still a few monsters, but the camera is a lot more pulled in. It's in third person now, and it's more of a self-contained story with a father and son that they're expanding into a trilogy now. It's like, okay, now that the Greek gods are dead, now we're going on to the Norse gods, which is a great aspect to get into. But I felt like they did a really good job of humanizing Kratos because he's a hard ass, but he's learning, from his past mistakes, and now he's trying to transfer that onto his son. Like, I don't want you to do the same things I did, which was like a lifetime of vengeance and anger and regret. Is just,
Yeah, and there are definitely parts of that story I did enjoy. I enjoyed the overall narrative, but I think I was just taken aback by we really only fought one god, in that one. It was mostly about, the one character that was really annoying the whole time. And I actually think this next one that is out is supposed to wrap it up. I don't know if it's a full trilogy or not. I haven't played it at all, so
Yeah, I'm currently playing it. I'm not done with it yet, but I do believe it's going to be another trilogy. I believe
the
there's
trilogy.
yeah, I that's my opinion. Yeah, I think there's going to be like another like big epic, finale for the third game. I haven't beaten this one yet, so it could wrap up, but I don't know why it would. It seems like there's a lot of money in this game and people love it, so they've got kind of a cash cow going on right now. So it's
Yeah,
like
well, I mean,
yeah.
at the pace they're going with the first one literally just being I don't even remember the name of the guy, Baltier Suitor, I can't remember who he fought.
But yeah,
But he's
Balder was the
Alder,
guy that he
yeah.
fought.
Yeah, so he only fought that one, and then
Well, he
so
fought
they have
that
plenty
one,
of.
and then he pissed off Freya, and then you ended up actually fighting Thor's two sons in the first game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you fought them like later on, which is why the father Thor's coming in. This second game, he's coming in like, all right, you killed my sons. We need to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, spoilers for God of War, I guess, it's a little late, but yeah, I don't know. It was really fun. Maybe it's just been so long, like it kind of my I have like a warped memory of the game. But I remember by the end of it being like, this was really cool, but I don't think I'm gonna rush out and buy the next one.
Yeah,
So I have not done that.
but
It's the same thing with Horizon Zero Dawn. I did this. I don't want to play the second one until it's like
the
on a
second's really
sale.
fun, but it just wasn't to your liking.
No, I didn't. The first one took me like several years to beat, and it was just really annoying. I didn't really like the combat.
Oh,
Yeah, so
combat's like or like one of the best parts of it. Killing the machine. I don't even call them dinosaurs, like machine animals, and taking their parts.
yeah, like the parts and stuff. I don't know. I just really sucked at it, and then it felt really janky to me, like when you do dialogue and stuff like that. So I'll wait.
Well, depending on how long you want to wait, they're actually remaking the first Horizon game, Zero Dawn. 'Cause we just had, which was pretty stupid in my opinion, because we just got Forbidden West, and immediately they're like, all right, we're going to remake the first one. And it's like, that game is like not that old.
Yeah,
And it still looks decent. So it doesn't really make sense why they want to remake that. Like, the remaking the first Witcher game, it makes perfect sense. That game's very dated, but why would you remake Horizon? It's dumb.
yeah. I don't. I think that they're just really. Sony is like, we got these cash cows that make all the money in the blockbuster games, so we might as well just pull a George Lucas and remaster
Our own product.
yeah, so we get the maximum amount of sales off of
Yeah.
the 13 franchises we have or whatever it is.
Now, part of remastering is like obviously touching up and tweaking the game to where it's like more up to date, but also adding like new features and whatnot. But with a game like Horizon, there's like really nothing they can add. I think they said pretty much the main gimmick they're doing with the remake is that they're going to add a co-op feature. So now you can go through the campaign with a friend. And I'm like, okay, but that doesn't justify like redoing a whole $60 game just for some co-op. Like, I feel like that's at the very least a DLC thing, but they want to remake the whole game just to add that. Well, and to touch up the graphics, but it's like that. The game isn't that dated. There's not much you can do.
How is the co-op even going to work in the story? Interesting. I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
so.
I assume it's going to be some online co-op where y'all both can just run around and fight machines. But I'm just like, what? To what end? Like, what? You can already go through the game by yourself, and because that's how it's made. It's made to be a solo play. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, it would be fun to have a friend to play with, but I don't know why I would spend $60 for that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not for me. Not for me.
So, for your particular taste, Brian, and I'm sorry if we're getting like weighing too heavy on you at the moment. We can change topics later, but
no, you're good.
You typically, when it comes to video games, you're more attracted to like story driven than like heavy action. Is that right?
Yeah, I like a good mix. Honestly, the first party games from PlayStation have always been pretty good. I say that mostly like The Last of Us. I really like Red Dead, but honestly, the Final Fantasy games are really my bread and butter.
Oh
And
yeah,
those are like a nice mix of gameplay, and obviously there's a lot of nice, pretty visual stories and stuff like that.
yeah.
So yeah, but lately I've been more into the MMO genre. So take that for what you will. I just don't have time to play the big games.
Which is weird because MMO is like a big time eater, but there's a lot of action going on in that and grinding and leveling up. I mean, RPGs in general are just fun if you like that sort of thing. I know some people don't, but personally, I love RPGs.
There's also it's easier to find stopping points in games like that because literally, like an MMO, any time is a stopping point. You just
Yeah, yes, you can go at your own pace.
yeah, and it's really easy. It's very relaxing. You just have a checklist, and you're like, all right, I've done all my real life responsibilities. Let's get on this checklist.
Yeah,
Kill 13 zombies, turn in a quest. Look, I did a task. Very cathartic, very relaxing.
you get that instant gratification of that you completed something.
Yeah, and then it can get exciting if you're in a dungeon or a raid or something, and it's only like 20 minutes, and you're like, all right, cool, that was
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. A 20-minute dungeon's fine. A raid is a little different because those can take a little bit longer. So you actually have to have a dedicated like hour or two, depending on what it is you're doing for that particular raid.
Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like those have been more tailored to my current life, just busy all the time. So when I can stop,
Yeah,
instead of being like, all right, I'm playing God of War, and I got 10 minutes until I need to go to bed, but the story is like the next stopping point, and the story is not for another hour and a half or whatever.
yeah, I get you.
What about you? What are you? I mean, I guess you're playing God of War right now, but
Yeah, it doesn't bother me so much the having to stop before I get to the next big story part. I mean, because it is what it is. I got a life, I got things to do. But yeah, I would prefer to not be interrupted and stop before a big story part. And I would love to just play the whole game through. But life stuff. We got things to do, so I got to keep saving my progress and then picking back up later.
yeah, you play a lot of indie games, I think, outside of
I have over the years, pretty much since the pandemic, and mainly since I got my PC. That's where it really took off. Because before I had the PC, I was stuck with just Xbox, PlayStation, the main party games, the AAA games. But now that I've got a PC, I'm able to really explore the $10, $15 indie games, which, in my opinion, are gems. They're really great. I mean,
yeah, they're just as good, and it's nice to find something refreshing instead of like, I mean, say what you will about the quality of the games, but like
yeah.
every AAA like Sony game and Ubisoft for the most part are like third person action with RPG. It's just like the same game, just with different skin a lot of times,
And not
and they're all
not all
great.
great, yeah. I mean, well, some games are just bad too. Like
Yeah,
the Madden games have been going off the rails. I mean, there's a lot of AAA studios that have been making a lot of bad decisions. I don't think that's the developer's problem. It's probably like the executive decisions that come later, with the microtransactions and the bad gameplay and the not testing things properly and wanting to, appease the investors. So even though the game is not ready, they just release it anyway. I mean, we don't want to have
yeah,
a cyberpunk debacle, but it's it's like
yeah,
but with indie games, they're small, they're not corporate, there's not a bunch of huge investors, saying, hey, where's my product? They can work their own pace. Usually a small team of people, if not one person.
yeah,
And then they, release this product, 10, $15, and it's a decent game. It's different, it's unique. It's not the typical Call of Duty formula where it's like, a big first person shooter, but it's like a unique adventure, a unique story. And I like finding those because I know those games don't take 60 hours to play. But I know for the price of 10, $15, I'm going to get a good 10, 20 hours out of it. So that works for me.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. I tried to play a couple of them. There's definitely, I mean, my wish list is pretty big, but it's hard to
Steam, man.
find time. Yeah,
Yeah, Steam's a whole beast in itself.
I know, it's crazy.
Now, in your opinion, what's like one of the best story driven games you've played, in your opinion?
Story-driven games. I mean, Metal Gear Solid. Any of 1 through 4.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the best, greatest story games. Final Fantasy 10.
I love 10.
Yeah, 10 is my favorite. Which, man, sorry, I've been listening to a lot of that drama with just to go off on a tangent, the Yoshi P, they're talking about Final Fantasy 16, and someone, I guess at IGN, interviewed him and asked him like, "Hey, are there any like black people in the game or anything like that?" And he was like, "Well, this medieval. We looked at medieval Europe, and we just tried to make a world that." Reflected that. So unfortunately, everyone's going to be a little disappointed because there's like, less representation, and then everyone got really mad.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate. I mean, it's a fantasy, like it's not real. Like you don't have to copy and paste Europe at the time. I mean, you can make your own thing. I mean, you got freaking monsters and dragons flying around. Come on, you can have some people of color in the game.
It's really interesting because I'm of two minds. I love Yoshi P. I played Final Fantasy 14 forever. Like I mentioned earlier, I love Final Fantasy in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like throughout the history of Final Fantasy, I've always felt that they've been more progressive as far as representation. Maybe not progressive. Progressive is not the right word. They've had a bit of representation throughout the series. So it's really interesting to see that excuse is kind of poor, but also I do think there's a little too much outrage without taking into context the rest of the history, and also understanding that they're Japanese. Like they don't understand their entire country is mostly homogenized, so
yeah,
they probably don't understand the importance of it.
A lot of the Asian countries don't, which is weird, but I mean it is what it is. Now, no one is like as bad as China. China's the worst when it comes to specifically black people. They're like overtly racist. Japanese, I feel like aren't nearly as bad, but it does seem like there's a level of ignorance. It's just like, why are y'all so cautious about having people of color in products? It just because they have an idea of what they want to sell and how they want things to look and what they think is appealing to their audience.
I mean, you can only go with what their inspiration comes from, their culture a lot of times, like especially with Final Fantasy games, and like that their entire country was closed off for several years. And even now, I'm sure like 95% of the country are Asian or Japanese people. So to them, they're like, okay, well, we have like 3% of the population is African American or black or whatever, not necessarily African American. So why is it a big deal if they're not in our medieval Europe game? Because we don't see any, as opposed to America.
Yeah, but we're literally a blending pot of like all cultures here.
Yeah, so I can kind of see it from that perspective, but it's also like I do feel like Final Fantasy. I mean, there are not an infinite number of African American characters, but there's like Barrett
That's
there's Saz and his kid, and then there's the one from the bunny girl from Final Fantasy 12.
I think her name was Fran.
Fran, yeah. And then there's Raban and 14. There's a couple in throughout, but also they do things like, for me, I'm Asian, so like Final Fantasy X, that entire game is filled and based off of like the region of like the Philippines and Malaysia and all that. So all of those characters, like that region and that sort of representation almost never happens unless you got like, especially for Filipinos in American culture, usually a Filipino is like a gay hairstylist in a comedy.
Yeah, the stereotypes, that's messed up.
Yeah. So seeing something like that in like a FF10 or something is, they try maybe.
I will say, I believe, I'm just trying to go back from all the games I've played, I believe Final Fantasy X is the first Final Fantasy game that I actually sat down and beat, like played all the way through to completion. And I was so enamored with the Final Fantasy experience based on 10 alone, I went back and finished 7, 8, and 9. And then from there, went back and beat like Mystic Quest and the other ones on Super Nintendo. but it was
Yeah.
because of 10. Because like growing up, I owned Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 because I got them like for Christmas and whatnot, and I played them, but I never like finished them. You know,
Yeah.
I loved RPGs, but I didn't love them like enough to finish them at the time. But
Yeah,
because
they're
of 10,
long.
yeah, 10, I actually, and you know, back in the day, 79, those are like multiple discs.
Yeah, 4 discs for
Yeah,
9.
yeah, you have to like, you know, finish it, and then it's like, okay, save with the memory card, and then open your PlayStation and put in the second disc. And that was like wild to us at the time. Now it's not even a thing anymore. Everything's
Yeah.
digital. But yeah, back in our day, it's memory cards and the multiple discs to because the game was just so much, and we're just like, man, this is a whole experience. But yeah, 10 was like the gateway. When I beat 10, I loved it. I was like, I'm gonna go back and finish the rest, and I did, and haven't regretted it.
Yeah, I've there are a couple blind spots for me. I haven't played 6 or 3, I guess whichever, depending which version.
Oh
And I know
yeah,
that's considered the best one for a lot of people. I've started it, but never quite got there. And I've there are a couple I haven't finished. I think 2, or 4, I guess. The one with the Dark Knight, Cecil. I got near the end, and then I was playing a ROM copy, and on my computer when I was a kid, and I got near the end, and then the save got deleted, and I was like, well, that's
wow. That
yeah.
how did that even happen?
I don't know. I might have taken like a break. I was using like an old emulator. You know how those things go. I might have taken like a little week break or something, and then it just broke. The file corrupted, or
That has got to be the most infuriating thing to like play this game all the way to the end where you're pretty much at the last section, if not the final boss, and then
yeah,
your save file gets corrupted.
it was not fun.
Oh, that sounds infuriating. I'd be like, I'm not playing this again. I'm not I'm not doing this again.
Yeah, I've tried. I bought the remaster, and then I just I got like 10 minutes in. And was like, oh, you just can't. It's too late now.
Could
Those
you
old games are much harder to play.
could you like I don't know if this is possible. Could you like go to like Fiverr or some website and like pay someone to like play the game up to that point and then give you the save file just so you can finish it?
So there are ROM saves that you used to be able to get on GameFAQs. I don't know if I'm dating myself, but it's fine. Where you could just download like a save file that someone has already gotten, and it would tell you like, all right, this is where I'm at. This is how much you have, 99.99 money.
Okay.
You know, whatever.
Now you can pick it up and finish it.
And then yeah, but I could never get them to work, so I just didn't know.
ROMs and emulators have been very hit or miss. It's like 50-50. I can find some that'll work and then some just like don't work at all. And it's just like it's a rabbit hole of trying to figure out what works and what doesn't with those. I haven't actually invested enough time to like really get to the heart of it and fix it because I have a lot of games that work, and then I have like a list of games that I downloaded that just don't. And I need to go back and like research and maybe find a different copy, but I just haven't had the time to do that. I've been doing other things.
It's just so much easier now to just buy the whatever remaster and just play it that way. At least you know there's some sort of quality control. I don't know. I'd be a bit more free with all of that, and now I'm just like, I'll just pay for it. It's fine. It's just easier.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's on sale and it's cheap. Like, thank you, Steam. Like, if I can find something for cheap, I'll buy it. And Game Pass has really revolutionized a lot too, because sometimes I can just find games on there. I'm like, oh, well, I can just play this for free on Game Pass. I mean, it's $10 a month, but still, easier.
It's much easier.
Yeah, the issue is just the time you got to dedicate to it. I mean, we're all in the same boat. We all got full-time jobs and responsibilities, but man, if we just had the time to invest like on all these products we can play now.
Yeah, I would love to just have like, I guess even maybe like 3 weeks, just take my entire vacation and be like, all right, I'm going to lock myself in my room, get takeout every day, and just, I'm just going to play through all these games and burn them.
I invested a lot of my time in high school, like playing games.
Yeah.
Like literally, I would come home from school and just game, and I would do that for hours. You know, eat dinner, come back, game some more, and then go to bed. I mean, granted, I missed out on some other like teenage shenanigans I probably could have been involved in, like parties and whatnot, running around and doing all that stuff. But for me, that was a lot. I mean, my whole experience with Kingdom Hearts 2, I just would come home and just burn through that.
Yeah. Back in the day, we would we would do a lot of partying, but then we would also like go and bring our systems over to someone's house, and then we would just get drunk and high and then play video games. We have like 3 TVs in one room. I'd be playing like Shadow of the Colossus, and then 2 people will be playing Halo, and then someone's playing Silent Hill on a different TV.
God, yeah, we used to have a lot of LAN. We used to have a lot of LAN parties with Halo. You know, our buddy Carlos that we have. Yeah, we used to go to his house and just set up TVs in each room of the house and set up an Xbox, and we would just game like all night. Just specifically Halo. We would do that like every weekend for like the longest time.
Yeah, those are some good times. That and Left 4 Dead.
Yep, that was fun.
Yeah. What? I guess mostly it was Halo, but what was like the main game you guys would play?
So with our group of friends, they weren't very adventurous. They liked pretty much one note things like Halo, maybe Battlefield, maybe Call of Duty. You know, I think we experimented with Splinter Cell when that was hype, and like, you know, the agents against the spies. That was pretty fun. But they're very one note. So Halo was pretty much all they wanted to play. Me personally, I had a spectrum. I wanted to do RPGs and racing. I wanted to do all kinds of stuff, but they weren't really into that. So that was mainly stuff I had to do in my free time. Even Left 4 Dead was mostly me, because again, they just all they wanted to play was Halo.
Really? I was gonna ask, did y'all play like what was like the weirdest game you guys would play?
See, that's the thing. They're not adventurous, and as you well know, like after the Halo years, they turned to Smash. It was just Smash Bros. I mean, and they're fun games, but they do not like getting out of their comfort zone. So yeah, I mean, it's still fun, but I feel like they're missing out because they don't play indie games either. They stick to the Call of Duty blockbusters and nothing else, or Overwatch.
Yeah, we used to play all kinds of crazy ass shit. Like one of my favorite, we used to play the Bouncer. From Squaresoft. That was one of my favorite games. I know apparently it got bad reviews, but I 100%ed that game. I 100%ed that game. And we would play 4-player. It was janky as hell, and you could easily cheese. But we would do like, they had 4-player fights in that game, and we would just do that. We would do the co-op. We played that game for hours and hours. DOA 2, the tag team fighting game, we would play that. Hours on end.
Yeah, I remember the first time I played DOA with you, and you just like kicked my ass because I was like, I never really played Dead or Alive, and you're like, I have, and you just murdered me.
I love that game. I used to know every combo for every character. Yeah. You know, you hit that age limit 99 and just fucking have a great time playing.
Yeah. See, when I was a kid, and this is before, if I'm going to go back even further, before the whole Halo LAN parties, when I was a kid, I had a group of friends that we all had N64s, and we went through like pretty much the whole catalog. We were always going to each other's houses, you know, whose parents let them go to Blockbuster or Payless, if people remember Payless Video Store.
Oh yeah.
We would go to Payless, and we would just literally Clay Fighters, Killer Instinct, Mario Kart, like every N64 was like the king. It was the GOAT when it came to just multiplayer games, because it was literally a system designed for multiplayer. Plug in the 4 controllers, Pokemon. We played any and every type of 64 game, and we had a blast. So it was very strange when I moved and I had to make a new group of friends, and all they wanted to play was Halo. And I'm like, y'all don't have variety? It's like, nope, we just play Halo. And it's just like, because I was used to a lifestyle of just like variety, and I love the 64 days of that, the Nintendo 64. We played so many different types of games. Turok was a popular series we played. Perfect Dark, GoldenEye.
Did you ever play Winback?
We did play Winback a couple times.
I love that game. I played it on PlayStation, and I bought the multiplayer tap for that one, and we would just do the battle arena mode, like 4-player pop and shot sort of.
Bro,
it was fun. I love that game. And Phantasy Star Online, that one.
Yeah, that one. Well, I got that on Dreamcast, and I had moved by that point, so that was something that was a solo thing I did that was like probably one of the first big RPGs I played. And I actually beat that game, like Disc 1 and 2, and I made it all the way to Ultimate difficulty, and I beat it on Ultimate too, which is like the hardest difficulty, because everything changes when you get to Ultimate, and I love that game. It's very dated, but I played the shit out of it by myself and I beat it, and I'm just like, wow, I can't believe I probably put more hours into that than any other game.
We would play that all the time, but I don't think we ever got past the third or fourth zone. But we would spend a lot of time playing that. We'd always do 4-player and just.
Yeah. I think actually
I
one
miss that
day,
game.
yeah, I think it was when we were in college when we met, you told me about that, and I brought over my save file to play with you, and you guys like hadn't even made it past like normal difficulty. And I'm like, bro,
Yeah.
I'm already on like the final difficulty. I'm like, my character's like above 100, and I'm just like, God.
I remember I spent $70 to buy the used copy of Phantasy Star Online 1 and 2 on GameCube, like the re-release. They had a used copy that they would rent.
Yeah.
It was the only place I could find it, and I was like, I want this. I have to have this.
Yeah.
So I bought it from them there so I could play it on a GameCube.
Yeah, I put a lot of
Still
hours
have
into the GameCube one as well.
Yeah. $70. I still have it. I never beat it, but I still have it. And I will never get rid of it.
It was one of the saddest games that I had to sell when I was going through my period where I was selling all my consoles and my games to, pretty much where I am now.
Mhm.
Phantasy Star was one of the hardest ones I had to sell because I was like, it had like because I put so many hours into that game, and I'm like, I didn't know of anyone else who made it to ultimate difficulty, let alone beat it, because it got hard, but man, it just so much, yeah, so much that.
I've tried to play Phantasy Star Online, the MMO, and it's similar. It's actually pretty fun from what very little I played, but I think that's just too hard to get. It's too much of a throwback to get anyone else to play.
It's Phantasy Star Online 2, and I've looked at it now because I have a PC now, but I have not downloaded it to play it. I think a friend of ours downloaded it and played it for like maybe a couple hours, and he said the same thing. He's like it's the exact same thing as GameCube, except the graphics are all up to date and there's a bunch of new classes and stuff. I'm really curious because I've seen Japanese people play it and they seem to love it. It's really popular.
It's much more fast paced, but it has like a very similar. I played it. I think I was the one that was trying to get us all to play, and then he did it separately, so we never played together. But it's a lot more epic. But it has like that feeling. It's familiar but different. It's definitely improved.
And they've got a bunch of new classes now that I want to experiment. Yeah. I really, really want to play it, but I don't have the time to put into it because I know how much time I put in to Phantasy Star Episode 1 and 2. And that's the same thing. The same reason I don't play MMOs is just like I love them, but I don't have the time to dedicate because I have so much stuff going on in my personal life. And it sucks because I really want to play Phantasy Star Online too. If I can just have some.
Well, if you ever want to play it, I'll hop in there.
Yeah, and I don't mind deleting some stuff off my PC because I know it's going to be a big ass file to download. But
yeah, it's like 100 gigs. I'm staring at it right now. So
I would definitely delete some stuff off my computer to play that if I just had the time. Because games like that, it irritates me to boot up a game like that, play for an hour, and then get distracted to go do family stuff and whatnot. I'm like, I need dedicated time to sit here and play this.
Yeah, but it's also easy because then you can just do like a quest or two, level up a little, and then bounce. And it's like, all right, you're in between quests, so you can just come back to it. So it does make it a little easier.
We'll see what happens next year because I know because it's fall now. It's the end of the year, and this is when all like the new hot games come out. So we've got Overwatch and Call of Duty, and now I'm playing God of War. And after God of War, I may or may not pick up Pokemon. Scarlet or Violet, for the Switch. There's just all the good stuff always comes out at the end of the year. But I know by this time next year, beginning of the year, there's not going to be much to play. So I'll have more time to sit down and just really dedicate to it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens then.
Yeah, we'll hop in that journey and update listeners to see how Phantasy Star Online is doing in 2023.
Yeah, like
riveting topics.
If I hop in, will people still? I feel like people still will be playing it. I feel like people still love Phantasy Star. I do. I just don't have the time.
I do. Yeah.
Well, in other news, a good segue transition. Did you hear about the whole FTX debacle?
I did not. I don't know what that is. I think that has something to do with Andrew Tate, maybe.
No,
It's really-
that's separate. The FTX is essentially a they're an exchange. They don't deal with stocks. They deal with cryptocurrency.
Great.
Yeah, so that's already like a nightmare in itself. But they're one of the bigger ones because I think Binance is like the number one cryptocurrency, like I guess, company in the world, and I think FTX is like second. And they have a lot of endorsements. They got a lot of celebrities backing them. They have a lot of money, and people, use their app and they trade cryptocurrency constantly. Personally, I don't believe in cryptocurrency because of shit that I'm about to talk about. It's shit like this why I don't mess with it. I will
Yeah.
I will mess with stocks. Stocks, I understand. I know how they work. I can invest in them. I'm perfectly okay with stocks. Cryptocurrency, they're not stocks.
Yeah,
like-
that's
it's-
it's a scam.
Yeah, and so there's no regulations, there's no laws because it's not technically a real thing. It's digital, blah 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 blah. Anyway,
You might as well be trading, WoW gold, World of Warcraft
yeah,
money.
like you're investing in something that you want to potentially become real currency in the future. So you're investing in the potential, but that's a whole separate argument. Anyway, FTX, one of the biggest exchanges when it comes to cryptocurrency, next to Binance, they just got into some shit, and a bunch of people lost their money. Shock, surprise, no one saw this coming, right?
Yeah.
It's cryptocurrency, but they're well respected, they're well known, and they're global. Like they've got a brand and everything, and they have two branches of the company. They have the U.S. branch, which deals with U.S. cryptocurrencies, and they have an international branch that a lot of people will invest in over there, and that's FTX.com. FTX.com is the one that's in hot water right now. They essentially went bankrupt. Billions of dollars gone. Everyone who invested in the international portion of FTX lost their money. It's gone. And the reason why it's gone is even more infuriating because obviously people don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They're like, hey, here's a company. I'm going to invest my money, get some Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever cryptocurrency they want.
Mm-hmm.
So out of nowhere, they just went bankrupt and everyone lost their money and everyone's trying to pull out and they can't because they don't have it. Just like the Great Depression when, the banks didn't have the money because it's invested into other things. So JP Morgan's like, hey, we'll bankroll you and we'll pay everyone's debt back, but now we're going to own the bank, which is why. Yeah. So it's like, cool, capitalism at its best. But yeah, and people who are investing in the FTX US portion of the cryptocurrency, they're scared because they're like, okay, well, if your international division just went bankrupt, what's to say that won't bleed over? Because it's all the same company. And honestly, if I had money in cryptocurrency, which I don't, first I would have it in a cold wallet. I would have it in a USB flash drive where it's not on the server because if something happens, my money's gone. So if a company goes bankrupt, I still have it on my flash drive. I can take my cryptocurrency and go elsewhere, like to Binance or another platform. But some people don't do that and they just leave it on the exchange. So when the company goes bankrupt, they just lost all their money. But yeah, I would immediately, if anyone is still currently invested, at least in the U.S. portion at this point, because the international portion is gone, I would pull out, take your money, and just go elsewhere. But it's a mess. Apparently, what had happened was the owner of the international branch, I forget his name, he owned another company called I think what is it, Alameda, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this chick, she was the CEO of Alameda. What was happening was he owns both companies. When people would invest their money into the FTX, and this is my understanding of the international portion, his company, he would use their money and he would invest it into Alameda, which, we know now is a company that he also owns. That company, Alameda, they would take the money he invested and they would buy FTX tokens. So it's quite literally a circle of money. He was taking the money, investing it into this other company, Alameda, who was then using that money to buy cryptocurrency on FTX, literally sending the money back his way. So while that's not illegal, it's really scummy and it's fraud because what that did was it would inflate the price of the cryptocurrency. It would look like, oh my God, everyone's buying this crypto. It's going up and up and up. It's like, can you imagine if you were in a casino, you're at a slot machine, you pull the lever and you win money. So you're like, dope, this is tight. You pull the lever again and you win again. You continue to pull this lever over and over and you win every single time. That is unheard of. So you literally have this stock price just skyrocketing and it's like, oh my God, it's doing all this business, it's doing great. But it's a lie. So shit crashes because the whole company's liquid. They don't have any money because they just inflated their own price with money they didn't have. It was really, really shady, really scummy. So I feel for a lot of people who just lost their money.
Yeah, I think you cut out there for a little bit.
Oh, I don't, I don't know what part cut out.
It was right when I was like, I think that's illegal.
But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately it's not illegal, but it is fraud and it is scummy because it's like,
fraud's illegal, isn't it?
It's gonna be. Well, here's the problem. They can go after him and they could try to take him to court, but because cryptocurrency is such a wild, it's like hedge funds. It's such a wild west. There's no regulations. It's very hard. I'm sure they can do something. I'm sure guaranteed he will be brought against charges for fraud and whatnot. But with cryptocurrency, it's just it's not an untapped market. It's hard to regulate that sort of thing because it's not really a physical asset. It's not tangible. It's just you're buying something that has potential to be a new currency. So it's just because that's why we have Forex. If you want to literally invest into currency, invest into Forex. You can invest into the yen, the peso, the RMB. You can invest into real currency from other countries. But with crypto, it's not real, so it's super hard to regulate.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the rule of thumb is that everyone on the internet is trying to scam you. So
yeah,
maybe just be really careful and thoughtful with your money instead of trying to go for, the get rich quick scheme. Because that's what everyone's trying to do.
I've always viewed people investing into crypto who are trying to, make it big. And because you hear about those rare cases about, someone invested into Bitcoin, Ethereum, and now they're like a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
I equate that to catching lightning in a bottle 17 times in a row over the course of 15 seconds. Like what you're trying to do is so incredibly rare. You can quite literally, you could probably hit the lotto. You'd have better chance of hitting a lotto than getting rich off of Bitcoin, Ethereum. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know the statistics on it, but that's how I feel. I'm like, it's so rare to just, become a millionaire off of cryptocurrency because usually what people do, which is also scummy, is a pump and dump. They'll make up like Dogecoin or Brian Thompson coin and not real. And they'll get a bunch of people to buy it. And then when it's super inflated, they'll sell for millions of dollars. And then you just lost all your money because it's a pump and dump. That's essentially what cryptocurrency happens a lot of times.
Yeah. On
a not real coin. And then you cashed out.
Yeah. That's, I don't know. That's really unfortunate. I sort of feel bad for the people that lost all their money. But, you just gotta be careful. There's probably a better way to have made the money that they wanted.
Yeah, I mean,
they could have invested that into something else.
And that's why I brought up Forex. I'm like, if you want to invest into a real currency, just do Forex. Invest into yen or pesos or something that's real, but cryptocurrency is not.
Yeah, I have no idea how any of that works. If I'm being totally honest, I just try to avoid it.
Yeah, I believe in stocks, but cryptocurrency are not stocks. So I don't mess with it. I don't trust it. And you hear about cases like this all the time. Some company went under and lost everybody's money. Dogecoin or it happens over and over. And I'm like, bro, this keeps happening, but everyone keeps trying to jump on the bandwagon, trying to get rich quick. And I'm like, that's not how it works. It's just going to be a pump and dump.
Yeah, I feel like you get people like Elon Musk who who actually know how to game the system and they will use it to their advantage. Like I think he had stock in Dogecoin and was like, everyone should invest in Doge, and then obviously it went up, and then he probably sold.
Yep, exactly. He made a profit and everyone else lost. It's a pump and dump.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so scummy. It's I don't know. I just feel like people should just be smart enough to just not bother with it. Now, potentially, cryptocurrency could become a real form of currency and replace the American dollar, but not anytime soon. It might be another 50 to 100 years before that becomes a thing, which is why that's why people are investing now.
Yeah, but do we think the government's going to allow that? No, they're not going to allow an unregulated currency come through and replace.
Right, at least not now. I mean, they're trying to push for it, and they're trying to convince them like, hey, this is the future. But as of right now, it's just a bunch of people getting screwed over. As of right now, so it could be potentially good later, but we'll probably be long dead by the time it's useful.
Yeah,
but if you invested now, then your grandkids would be rich. It's like I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I feel like all they really would need is like several of the major big corporations to be like, we're exclusively taking Dogecoin or crypto. That's it. Yeah. And then like if Apple was like, all Apple phones will be paid for in crypto, then that'd be a turning point. It would be stupid, but that would be a turning point.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's yeah. So yeah, good luck with that nonsense. Sorry for everybody who lost their money, but
yeah, I'll have to look into that.
This isn't new. Like crypto fails constantly, but people just keep trying to. They're hoping they're gonna invest into that one good one that takes off, but it's just like, all right, man. There's better things to gamble.
Yeah, I mean, there's always in every industry. There's like the original, which is I assume would probably be Bitcoin, which is probably one of the more successful but steady. It's not like a a rocket into the moon, I guess, so to speak, but it's a steady one that people are it's building up a reasonable base as it goes along. But then when people see that, then imitators start coming out, and that's why you get all these other bullshit ones that are like, oh, invest in this one. This is going to be the one.
Yeah.
But in reality,
anybody can make a coin.
Yeah, but just like everything, it's like there's going to be the one that succeeds, and that will be the one. Like, it's like people making Vampire Survivors. Vampire Survivors comes out, and then or Flappy Bird, and then everyone makes like 80 different versions of Flappy Bird, and it's like, okay, but those aren't real. Like those don't. You can buy those, but you're not going to get anything for them.
It's so funny that you say that because I played the shit out of Vampire Survivors. I unlocked everything in that game. But I didn't spend money on it. It was on Game Pass, and I was like, cool, this looks fun. And I crushed that game. I unlocked literally everything. It's so fun. And it's such a simple design.
I have not played it, but I've heard that there were a lot of imitations after that game got really big. So.
Yes. So there are a bunch of clones. Some of them are okay, but Vampire Survivors, it's you literally just move the thumbstick around because your character automatically shoots. So you literally don't have to do anything. You literally sit there and just move the thumbstick.
Yeah,
around.
It's just simple.
It's simple. You don't even have to aim. You don't have to fire. It does it for you. And it's such a simple concept and such a fun game. I really hope they expand upon it or make a sequel or at least add more characters, something. Because I was like, when I completed that game, I'm like, I want more. This is so fun and simple.
But, yeah, I'm sure they will. I mean, if it's popular, and it looks like it is, I'm sure they'll do another one. Expand on it a bit, do multiplayer, all the good stuff.
Well, let's hope so, because I loved it.
Yeah. I'll have to try it. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, man, it's a real simple game. You can literally turn your brain off, but I digress. Now, in happier news this week, Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever.
Yes. What a great movie.
It was such a good movie. And honestly, because there's a lot of things I want to say about this movie. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil it for people on the podcast since it just came out recently. But one takeaway I want to give is that I personally believe this is what Marvel Phase 4 should have started with. I think they should.
Really?
I think they should have started with this movie instead of giving us the random Loki show and the WandaVision. I mean, because they gave us a lot of random TV shows to start off the new phase. Because we had Avengers Endgame and everything, quote unquote ended. But it's like, okay, where do we go from here? And they just did a bunch of spin-off TV shows, and none of them really connected to the overall like story that they're trying to tell, which we know is King the Conqueror, except for Loki. So it's just been a kind of bunch of random stuff, and Doctor Strange 2 had nothing to do with it, and I mean even Spider-Man Homecoming had nothing to do with it. It's just like it.
I would actually say, I think personally that it was good to end strong on this. If you look at the phase as a whole, almost every movie had a theme of grief being the theme.
Yeah.
Like the overall subject was grief, and then what comes after, I suppose, the Endgame Infinity War, because you had, Spider-Man, having grieving something by the end of the movie, or or same with WandaVision, all of those things. There was a steady theme of grief throughout every single movie that came out from Marvel this year, and some of the TV shows as well. So I think it's appropriate that they end it with obviously they probably couldn't have done it any sooner because of like reshoots and rewriting the whole movie and a delay and all that COVID. But I feel like it was a perfect way to end it because it was the most genuine form of grief, because it was based on a real grief. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely it was a strong movie. The movie was fantastic. I'm just gonna put that out there right now. The movie was amazing. I mean, and again, I just have kind of a different view on it, just looking at the past. Because I remember watching after Endgame, watching all of Marvel's content, because a lot of people, have kind of fallen off. They're like, "Oh, I'm kind of burnt out. I didn't watch this and watch that." Which,
Yeah.
to be fair, I'm like, okay, I understand. You're personally burnt out. I'm not. I'm enjoying it, but watching all of that content, I'm like, where is this going? Like, we know this is supposed to go into the next big event, but they're not showing that. And I complained about that a lot over the past couple years. I'm like, they're not explaining where it's just random shows.
I mean, they didn't
but-
explain it. They didn't really push the overall narrative that much in Black Panther.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't. But even better, why it should have been like the starting movie. But because it kind of set the bar. But I mean, if you want to end on because I mean, we still got Ant-Man coming next. Is that part of Phase 5?
No, that's the start of the next phase.
That start of Phase 5. Okay, because Ant-Man Quantumania is going to be the next one, and they are starting off with Kang. He's the villain. I'm like, okay, cool. So going forward, all of your properties should have Kang in it. But yeah, the movie was fantastic. And man, the sad moments where they brought up Chadwick Boseman, because obviously people are wondering how are they going to handle his death. Like, that's the biggest thing. And personally, I believe they handled it very well.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job.
Yeah, and I will say, and this isn't really spoilers, they don't handle his death like, once. Like, it's a constant theme throughout the movie. His death is constantly brought up, and people are, upset. They're sad. They're grieving. And man, the moments where they really, really focus on Chadwick Boseman, I don't think there was a dry eye in the house. Like, for me personally, it was very hard for me to keep my composure. Like, I was literally tearing up, and you could hear people in the audience like sniffling, like every time the Chadwick Boseman parts came up. It was just like, God, this is sad. And it's what was necessary. Like, he's gone and he's never coming back, so we want to honor him.
Yeah, the whole movie was essentially a love letter or a dedication to him, and it was done very well, very respectful.
Yeah.
I think I sat next to two ladies, and then my girlfriend, and then there was a lady on the other side, and they were all crying. So, and you could hear it throughout the whole, the whole movie.
It was very touching.
Mm-hmm.
Now, getting away from the sad parts, the other aspects of the movie were great too.
I really hope that they keep this sort of pace. Like, this was a good This is the bar they should be trying to hit.
Yeah, I'm
The
kind of
rest of the
confused.
phase was very weak,
Yeah,
but
it was confusing. I'm like, what's happening here?
yeah, but also if they would have done this one first and then all the rest of the movies were weak, that would have been a really, you know,
Well,
this is clearly the best one
Spider-Man
of
No Way Home, that
fun. Yeah, that was a
yeah,
good movie.
in my opinion, that is still the best Marvel movie of the year, first off. But then when it comes to Marvel, still best Marvel movie. Like I easily better than Endgame. I mean, Endgame, yeah, has the gimmick of everyone in it, but
Mm,
Spider-Man Far From Home, or that was just it was just a good movie in general, start to finish, in my opinion. So
yeah, I think Black Panther is better as far as this phase go, and I do think Endgame, Infinity War are better. I think that the Spider-Man movie is really good.
oh, think we got some technical difficulties. Oh, they cut out here.
Hello,
There you are. What happened? Oh, you still with me?
I cannot hear you.
Wait, can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you now.
What?
Sorry, my computer just froze and shut down, restarted itself.
Well,
Good computer.
that's gonna be that'll be a whole segment I'll just cut out. But all right,
Okay.
so but you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, so we were saying I thought Homecoming was the best film. You said you thought it wasn't the best film even though it was good. You think what Black
Yeah,
Panther and Endgame are better?
yeah, I feel like Spider-Man really focused more on jokes, and if they would have taken more time to add a little more gravitas of the whole situation and kind of play it more serious like Black Panther, then I feel like I would have enjoyed it a bit more. Because there's a lot of silly things that they just throw away with like jokes,
Yeah.
like especially near the end. You're just like, okay, well, I feel like
Yeah. That's interesting. You feel that way. I disagree. I felt like Spider-Man: Far From Home had a perfect balance. I felt Thor: Love and Thunder had way too much jokes. That's something I really was just like, this is just dumb.
yeah, that was too much,
It was way
which is
too much.
disappointing. Very disappointing.
Yeah, but yeah, Black Panther 2, great film. Um, yeah, there's so much going on in that movie, but you know, obviously we can't talk about it without spoiling it. I thought all of the I don't want to say side characters, the other characters in the film, they were great.
Yeah.
You know, they introduced Riri Williams, which you know that's a known thing, so she's in there. M'Baku, of course, is always a great presence when he's on.
Yeah, Winston Duke is great.
Yeah, he's a good actor. Now the big thing, Namor the Submariner. I think he was really well done. I like the way they changed him up because he's obviously very different than what he is in the comics. But I find it very positive that they brought in the whole I don't know how to properly say this, the Spanish, the Mexican, like
A Mesoamerican.
yeah,
culture.
Mesoamerican aspect to him instead of just being like, you know, some white a copy of Aquaman essentially. It's like
Yeah.
you know, it's like, oh, King of Atlantis, whatever. It's like, no, it's like he's got like a rich history with the Mesoamerican, you know, stuff in it, just like the Black Panther in Africa, the whole Wakandans thing, which really like balanced it for me.
Yeah, I thought it was really well done. I thought he was a wonderful villain and probably one of the better ones out of all of the MCU movies. Most of them have really weak villains that are just copies, and this one was like, nope, he's super powerful. He's really crazy. He's very threatening.
Yeah.
Very intimidating. I love the way the cinematography in that movie was so well done. Like everything and their introduction to all those characters was beautifully shot. It was almost like Lovecraft horror at times.
Yeah.
I
mean,
loved it.
for the sake of this movie, he did play the villain, but as a character himself, like in the comics and just who he is in general, he's more of an anti-hero, kind of like Deadpool. But yeah, in this particular story, yeah, he's against
He's the
Wakanda.
antagonist.
Yeah.
And also they do a really good job of making you see it from his perspective as well. You're not like, oh wow,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah, he's not
you're
just like he's
an
like, oh,
asshole.
it's like yeah, it's not just like I'm gonna take over the world for no reason. It's like, yeah, I mean, he's got his own, you know, things to deal with because you gotta remember he's also a king of his people, like T'Challa was a king of his people. But you know, now that T'Challa's gone, you know, Shuri has to, you know, fill in the role of, you know, stepping in for Wakanda. So you know, they can relate to an extent.
Yeah. Well, there's also Angela Bassett. Angela Bassett killed it in that as the Queen Ramonda,
Yeah. Stepping in
and
while
stepping
Charles gone.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like the whole cast did such a good job of kind of trying to fill in. I mean, no one can replace Chadwick, but like fill in the gap of of the Black Panther and that character, and just have them all do really interesting things, really great story arcs throughout, and yeah, I didn't find any part of it slow.
Right.
Most of it, I didn't find any part of it slow. I didn't really care for Riri Williams that much near the second half of the movie,
So
but I thought she was good.
I guess because you're behind on some of the Marvel shows, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen. I never didn't finish Moon Knight or Miss Marvel, or
Okay.
I think there's one after that. I don't know.
Do you feel like you would want to invest the time into the Ironheart show? Because that's going to be a whole show dedicated to Riri Williams.
I will watch
in
an
the next
episode
phase.
or two and see how it goes, but the Marvel TV shows have not really been very interesting to me.
What did you think of Werewolf by Night? That was a self.
That was amazing.
Yeah, personally, I believe Marvel should do that with all of their characters. I believe they should just give everybody a 45-minute special introducing the character, and then see how people respond. Because if they like it, then give them their own TV show, or if they don't like it, move on to the next character. But I think they should do that with all of their potential characters that they want to bring into the MCU. That's what, if I ran the business, that's what I would do. Have a bunch of one-shot episodes and be like, all right, do people like this? Yes or no?
Yeah, I just think the budget is not quite there, so there's a lot of like CGI heavy characters that don't look great, and that's the whole thing about like Marvel, and they're crunching all of their special effects teams, which is disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There's some interesting ones like Armor Wars. I think that used to be a TV show. Now it's going to be a movie. And then
Oh yeah,
there's a couple that I would be interested to see, but I don't think Riri Williams, like, I would have to probably get very good reviews for me to watch through all of it, because I felt like Moon Knight would have been really good, and then I just couldn't.
and Moon Knight was only like 6 episodes, I think.
No matter how many times I try to start it back up, I just can't. I just don't care. Same with Miss Marvel.
So yeah, I'm loving it. I'm absorbing it. I'm having fun. I mean, it's obvious what they're doing with Riri Williams and why they decided to bring her in, because Robert Downey Jr., as you know, is gone. He's not coming back. So they're like, okay, well, we need an Iron Man, or we need to kind of fill the role. And Riri Williams is literally that character. She literally makes, and I mean, that's her character. She makes her own personal Iron Man suit.
Yeah. I'm excited to see her in the movies and how they like roll her in.
Yeah.
But
I don't see her literally taking over Tony Stark's position and being like, the one in charge. I don't see that happening, but I do see her feeling that the robot suit man void that people want to see. Like, okay, we still got someone flying around in her Iron Man suit. I will say for Black Panther 2, I love the representation that they put in with the Mesoamerican thing, because now more people of color have representation instead of just black people. So now you've got the Spanish, the whole Mexican like representation on film now. So it's like, cool, now we're involved, and I really hope they continue doing this trend.
Yep, I'm excited if they ever do Nova. That will be really good, because I think
Richard
could do. Yeah, they could do Richard Rider.
Yeah. Now, do you want to see the father Nova, or like the kid Nova, who's like?
I want to see the kid Nova. The kid Nova is Hispanic. Yeah. No one needs to have a character named Dick Rider.
They did that on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, they could definitely have Richard Rider as like a mentor. Maybe do like a nice intro with him, a la Green Lantern. But I think they should just skip him and focus on the other characters. So
with Nova, at least the kid Nova that we have been talking about, the whole Nova Corps in this sense has been destroyed. So he literally has the entire power of the entire Nova Corps in his helmet for himself, which makes it cool, because then you kind of get to see him as a kid make mistakes and figure out his powers and do all this stuff. But I think in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, they didn't get destroyed. It was just like the city got destroyed, I think, but not like
Yeah,
the whole planet. And I think that was like what Ron and the Accuser who did that with the power
yeah,
stone.
yeah.
And they've
Uh,
never shown the Nova Corps since, like, which is a wasted opportunity. I'm like, y'all haven't shown anybody since that movie.
of Guardians of the Galaxy and all of those characters. So
Please.
seeing them fight Annihilation, there's like 3 wars in a row. I was just saying I would love to see them do a galactic space war with that side of Marvel in the movies.
I mean, that's literally why we have Guardians of the Galaxy, to introduce all the space stuff. So it's, if they want to do something, I really wonder what James Gunn's going to do with this third Guardians movie, because this is going to be his last one. So if he would open up the space adventures to other characters, that would be great.
Yeah, well, he says this is the end of this iteration of Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm sure. I mean, Drax is pretty. Dave Bautista's said as much. He doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, Gamora's gone because she's doing
Yeah.
Zaldana. So
So I don't know. There are definitely other really interesting characters that I would have loved to have seen. There's a character that's like essentially like a space version of Joan of Arc. She's really cool.
I want to see Moondragon.
Yeah, Moondragon. There's one character that I forgot his name. He was my favorite in the story. He's like a giant grasshopper, like Mantis, but he has like a giant spear. It's like a dragoon in Final Fantasy. I love that character. I would love to see him show up in the movie, but they already had too many green people. So
dumb. Yeah, I'm curious on what they're gonna do now that James Gunn and Batista and everybody else is leaving.
yeah, they
'Cause,
got
I
to
mean,
put Quasar in there. Quasar.
Honestly, the whole space side Marvel is like untouched, and it was like that in the comics, which is literally why Guardians of the Galaxy was created in the comics, to like literally open that up for space adventures. So whoever wants to take over the space part of Marvel, please do something, because there's a lot of stuff out there. I would personally love to see the Annihilation Wave, but I mean they have to bring in the Fantastic Four for that. So
Yeah, that could be cool. I think they should do an Annihilation War first. That one was fun. That had Thanos popped up.
yeah,
There's all kinds of good stuff that came out of that. So
we'll definitely have to wait and see what they have in store for us. But yeah, rest in power, Chadwick Boseman. Black Panther 2 was great. Everyone, go watch it if you can. And then I guess we're just gonna prepare for the next phase, which is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And now, yeah, I'm curious on how they're gonna play this, because Kang is obviously there. I wonder if he's trapped in the quantum realm, and maybe that's why he's trying to coerce Scott Lang to help him escape. Because it's like why would he be helping you? Why would he help you escape unless he was getting something from it?
yeah, I don't know. I'm really curious to see what they do. I've heard this, that, and the other rumors, but it'll just be interesting to see. I haven't really cared for the Ant-Man movies all that much. They're like my lower tier. They're fun, but
yeah, they're
so
okay.
I'm interested to see if they elevate it or do anything different with it.
Well, this has been a lengthy episode. Got some good topics in.
Sorry for the technical difficulties. We're still trying to figure this out.
I'll just edit it in post. I'll just like cut it so it'll seem like we'll be continuously talking, but they'll be like, hey, there was a jump cut there. They kind of jumped the conversation. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
You got any advice, any parting words for the folks at home, Brylon?
No.
Leave them with a nugget of wisdom. Give them something to chew on for the next week. Well, everyone, hope you enjoy your day. Hope you had a good weekend. Stay safe out there. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know if there's any topics you want us to cover in next week's episode. But yeah, I think I'll leave it there. See you later.